Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Grammar. Today we will read two Anglo-Saxon poems. The first one, The Wanderer, and the second one, The Wife's Lament. The Wanderer. The Wanderer is an anonymous Old English and elegiac poem from the Anglo-Saxon period, preserved in the 10th century Exeter book detailing a warrior's profound loss and exile after his lord's death, exploring themes of grief, fate, and weird. Weird means fate, destiny, what comes to be, personal destiny, loyalty, and the search for spiritual solace amid worldly transience blending pagan heroic ideals with Christian hope. The wanderer, always the one along longs for mercy, the maker's mildness, though troubled in mind. Across the ocean ways he has long been forced. Co-stir with his hands the frost-cold sea, and walks in exile's path, weird is fully fixed. Thus spoke the wanderer, mindful of troubles, of cruel slaughters and dear kinsmen's downfall, often alone in the first light of dawn. I have sung my lament. There's none living to whom I would dare to reveal clearly my heart's thoughts. I know it is true that it is a nobleman's lordly nature to closely bind his spirit's coffer, hold fast his treasure hoard, whatever he may think. The weary mind cannot withstand weird. The troubled heart can offer no help, and so those eager for fame often bind fast in their breast coffers a sorrowing soul, just as I have had to take my own heart, often wretched, cut off from my own homeland, far from dear kinsmen, and bind it in fetters. Ever since long ago, I hid my gold-giving friend in the darkness of earth and went wretched. Winter sad over the ice-locked waves, sought, hauled sick, a treasure giver wherever I might find, far or near, someone in a mead hall who might know my people, or who would want to comfort me friendless, accustom me to joy. He who has come to know how cruel a companion is, sorrow, for one with few dear friends will understand. The path of exile claims him, not patterned gold, a winter-bound spirit, not the wealth of earth. He remembers hall holders and treasure-taking, how in his youth his gold-giving lord accustomed him to the feast that joy has. All faded, and so he who has long been forced to forego his Lord's beloved words of counsel will understand, when sorrow and sleep both together often bind up the wretched exile. It seems in his mind that he clasps and kisses his Lord of men, and on his knee lays hands and head, as he sometimes long ago in earlier days enjoyed the gift throne. And when the friendless man awakens again and sees before him the fallow waves, seabirds bathing, spreading their feathers, frost falling, and snow mingled with hail, then the heart's wounds are that much heavier. Longing for his loved one, sorrow is renewed. When the memory of kinsmen flies through the mind, he greets them with great joy, greedily surveys hall companions, they always swim away. The floating spirits bring to few familiar voices. Cares are renewed for one who must send over and over a weary heart across the binding waves. And so I cannot imagine for all this world why my spirit should not grow dark. When I think through all this life of men, how suddenly they gave up the hall floor, mighty young retainers. Thus this middle earth droops and decays every single day, and so a man cannot become wise before he has weathered his share of winters in this world. A wise man must be patient, neither too hot-hearted nor too hasty with words, nor too weak in war, nor too unwise in thoughts, neither fretting nor fawning nor greedy for wealth. Never eager for boasting before he truly understands. A man must wait, when he makes a boast, until the brave spirit understands truly where the thoughts of his heart will turn. The wise man must realize how ghastly it will be when all the wealth of this world stands waste. As now, here and there, throughout this middle earth, walls stand blasted by wind, beaten by frost, and buildings crumbling. The wine halls topple their rulers, lie deprived of all joys. The proud old troops all fell by the wall, war carried off some. Sent them on the way, one a bird carried off, over the high seas, one the grey wolf shared with death, and one a sad-faced man, covered in an earthen grave. The creator of men thus destroyed this walled city, until the old works of giants stood empty. Without the sounds of their former citizens, he who deeply considers with wise thoughts this foundation and this dark life, old in spirit, often remembers so many ancient slaughters and says these words: "Where has the horse gone? Where is the rider? Where is the giver of gold? Where are the seats of the feast? Where are the joys of the hall? Oh, the bright cup! Oh, the brave warrior! Oh, the glory of princes!" How the time passed away, slipped into nightfall, as it had never been. There still stands in the path of the dear warriors a wall wondrously high with serpentine stains. A storm of spears took away the warriors, bloodthirsty weapons, weird the mighty, and storms batter these stone walls. Frost falling binds up the earth. The howl of winter, when blackness comes, night's shadow looms, sends them down from the north. Harsh hailstones and hatred of men, all in toilsome in the earthly kingdom, the working of weird changes the world under heaven. Here, wealth is fleeting. Here, friends are fleeting. Here, man is fleeting. Here, woman is fleeting. So said the wise one in his mind, sitting apart in meditation. He is good who keeps his word, and the man who never too quickly shows the anger in his breast, unless he already knows the remedy a noble man can bravely bring about. It will be well for one who seeks mercy, consolation from the Father in heaven, where for us all stability stands. The Wife's Lament is an anonymous elegiac poem only in the Exeter Book, a 10th century Old English manuscript, compiled between 960 and 990 CE. In the poem, an exiled female speaker laments her forced separation from someone who may be her husband. I sing this song full of sadness, the song which is myself. I will tell what I am able, about what hardships I have faced since I grew up. recently or long ago, never more than now. Always I suffer my misery of exile. First my Lord departed from my people, over waves rolling. I had grief before dawn, thinking of the lands which held him, my people's Lord. Then I set out a friendless stranger searching for his retinue because of my grievous need. Relatives of this man began to plan through secret thought that they would separate us, that we, as far apart as possible in the kingdom of the world, would live wretchedly and me longing. My Lord commanded me to take a grove for a house. Little of what is beloved to me did I possess in this country. No loyal friends, for that is my mind's sadness. When I found the man who was my complete match, he was unfortunate, sad of mind and heart, with thoughts concealed, planning his crime behind a joyful demeanor. Very often we vowed that we would never be separated, not by death or anything else. What was before is now changed, is now as if it never were, that friendship between us. Must I, who desires you nearby, suffer? My dearly loved, this feud commanded was I to dwell in a forest grove. Under an oak tree in a cave, the earth's chest. Old is this earth hall, and I am filled with longing. Here is a gloomy valley, treacherous hills, bitter hedges, briars waxing, overgrown in this house without joy. Very often my cruel departure takes hold of me. Friends live on earth, lying in bed with their beloveds, while I, in the time before dawn, alone walk under oak tree. In the earth's chest I sit many long summer days, weeping for the misery of exile. My many hardships there, I am never able to rest from my mind's grief, nor from all the longing that in this life takes hold of me. It may be that he is always sorrowful, his heart's thoughts stern. Perhaps he has a joyful demeanor next to his grief, its constant sorrowful tumult. Whether he is dependent on himself for all of his worldly joy, or whether he is an outcast, very far from his distant country, sitting under stone cliffs, frost-rimmed from storms, friendless, water flowing before his echoing home, my lover suffers much grief of the mind. Too often he remembers a house full of joy. Woe to those that must of longing in life abide. Comparison and contrast of the wanderer and the wife's lament. Both the wanderer and the wife's lament are Old English elegies that explore themes of exile, loss, and isolation. Yet they differ in their perspectives, tones, and emotional focus. Similarities. Theme of exile and loneliness. Both poems center on individuals who have been separated from their communities. The speakers mourn the loss of companionship and the security of their former lives. Elegiac tone. Each poem expresses sorrow and reflection on suffering. The tone is mournful, meditative, and filled with longing for what has been lost. Reflection on fate. Both speakers contemplate the role of fate or weird in human suffering. They accept that loss and hardship are inevitable parts of life. Imagery of desolation. The natural world mirrors the speaker's emotions. Cold, barren, and bleak landscapes emphasize their inner despair. Cause of exile. The wanderer's exile results from war and the death of his lord, a common fate in warrior culture. The wife's exile stems from interpersonal conflict. Her husband's kin or enemies have forced her into isolation. Tone and resolution. The wanderer moves toward a philosophical acceptance of suffering, finding solace in faith and wisdom. The wife's lament remains unsolved, ending in bitterness and grief, with no spiritual consolation. While both poems share the elegiac tradition of exile and sorrow, The Wanderer reflects a masculine meditation on fate and loss. Where Arias, the wife's lament, offers a deeply emotional portrayal of isolation and betrayal. Both poems reveal the extent of human suffering in Anglo Saxon poetry.